it's actually funny because some of you might not know him from the health space, but he was a massive name when he was first starting out the podcast stuff. So many FDNs are a part of FDN because of him. And now he has an amazing show that I personally listen to called the Quote of the Day Show with over 30 or 40 million downloads, something crazy. I'll ask him about that soon. But again, the topic today is Rich Coach, Broke Coach, why some health practitioners thrive while the rest struggle to survive, and a little bit about Sean. He is a certified transformational neuro coach who uses brain science to help online entrepreneurs, coaches, and course creators break through their mental blocks so they can take action, be seen, and stand out in a crowded niche. Sean's career online spans over a decade as one of the first YouTubers and podcasters in the holistic health space, can confirm that. Even cooler was Reed was his first and last guest on the podcast. As the founder of Underground Wellness, he hosted over 300 health-based interviews on his UW Radio podcast and created 7 popular online health events, including the digestion sessions and the depression sessions. He is now the host of the Quote of the Day Show podcast. Sean, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I know Reed's going to want to say hello as well.
Thank you so much for having me. What's up, Mr. Reed Davis? Long time no see.
Yeah, Sean, it's good. Really good to see you, man. I'm tickled. I'm excited because I also read your blog and listen to the podcast. I read the blog, every single one. It's one of those, you get a lot of them. You just kind of hit delete it, something like that, or you maybe save it for later. I read it. They're nice, short, and very meaningful, and they're very inspiring. And I just couldn't congratulate you more on what you've been doing since you left the health space. Man, you're still helping people. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Sean and I, for those that don't know, met 15 years ago this July at a seminar I was doing. So good on you, man.
Thank you, Reed. I appreciate that, man. You just had a birthday, right?
Yes, sir. 7-0.
Happy birthday, man. Oh, wow. Happy belated, man.
Shameful. I sure don't feel it, and
awesome, man. Good to see you.
Cool. All right, gentlemen, we are going to roll into this. It's going to be a good one today. It's going to be kind of interview style. If you guys have any questions in the audience, obviously feel free, whether you're on the YouTube side, Facebook side, or if you happen to be here on Zoom with us, you're more than welcome to ask wherever, and I will prioritize it if I find it relevant to the conversation. But first, Sean, let's get this kicked off. You were in the very first FDN class, which was way back in 2008. What was it about FDN that made you want to enroll in a program that essentially had 0 student testimonials at the time? And also, I understand you have an interesting story about how you came up with the funds to sign up for the course, and I don't actually know that one. So please tell us about that too.
Yeah. What made me sign up was proof that it worked. Also, it was a very unique set of skills that your average person didn't have. At the time, I was a personal trainer. And so just to think like I can run labs and check people's testosterone and estrogen and gut function, all that stuff, in addition to my personal training services, no one was doing that at the time. I had a client, Francesca, and she came to me because, she wanted to flatten out her abs and she had tried everything and she wanted exercise routine and whatnot. So we worked out together for a while, but those abs were just simply not flattening out. And she connected with Reed, and they did a food sensitivity test. And she found that she was sensitive to all these different foods that she had been consuming frequently. And when she took those foods out of her diet, magically, her abs flattened out. And the thing about it was that no workout routine was going to be able to do what that MRT did. No workout routine was going to be able to do what Reed Davis helped her to do and FDN helped her to do. And so, I was in as soon as I heard about it. And I remember calling up Reed, and Reed told me the price. And at the time, I had just moved into my studio apartment. It was like 300 square feet studio apartment in downtown San Diego. And I'd bought all new furniture, including a TV. Like, this is 2008. And so, flat screen TVs were like a new thing. Yeah. So I was super proud that I went to Best Buy and I got this flat screen TV. And, when I found out what the price was for FDN, and it was a lot less than it is right now, this is 15 years ago, right? I took the TV back to Best Buy, got my money back, and used that money to enroll in the program. And I will tell you, I've made a lot of investments in my life, that was probably the best investment I ever made. From that single investment, I have made millions of dollars in health coaching, as well as the info product business in the health space. And so that was like the seed that gave me the information and the skills to do something that hardly anybody could do. So it's really cool.
Yeah, man. Well, that is awesome because that's a crazy story. I hadn't heard that one. And even just from the affiliate perspective, Sean, we weren't kidding when we were off air. The amount of people still to this day that are active FDNs that tell me that they found this program because of your podcast. I'm like, this guy could have retired off the affiliate commissions, let alone all the other stuff that you did. So it's pretty incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, man, this all comes full circle. It's beautiful. You actually got Jen Maleka involved in FDN, correct?
Yeah, Jen used to shadow me when I was a personal trainer at SDSU. And so
Okay.
I've known Jen forever. She's a rich coach. She's amazing. She has that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
I love Jen.
There must be something in the water about podcasts or for podcast hosts doing crazy things with money, because I'm in Pennsylvania and I got out to San Diego with like $1,200. Me and my best friend convinced him to go out there because I wanted to learn about natural health. And I was sick as a dog, needed some help. And I found Jen Maleka in a coffee shop giving a talk to like 20, 30 people at the time. And so it's just interesting how, now we're interviewing you right now, 14, 15 years later. It just all comes full circle. So I'm grateful for what you did, because I actually never would have heard out, at least to this day, would have never heard about FDN if it wasn't for Jen Maleka. I'm always the one telling other people still, not the other way around. So amazing how that goes. After completing the FDN live seminar, because for those we're really dating it here, FDN used to be a live seminar. It was something that you did on a weekend, basically. There was no online course. You didn't have the Facebook trainee group and all this fancy stuff. So after completing that live seminar, did you kind of hit the ground running, or what was maybe like a big obstacle you faced while you were building your practice initially?
I did not hit the ground running by any stretch. I remember, I'll never forget this. Reed sent me my very first client, and I'll never forget his name because he had the same name. His name was Sean. And I was so freaked out about working with somebody that I actually sent this client back to Reed. Like this was brand new. It was different. It was unknown. And just like anything, you're just kind of afraid of getting started. Also, I had a lot of issues around charging people for my services. You know, as health coaches, we get into this whole, oh, I'm a health coach, I'm supposed to help everybody, and I'm supposed to be Mother Teresa and give it away for free and I really got stuck in that. I'll never forget having a YouTube following of tens of thousands of people, and I was afraid to offer my services to them through my YouTube content. And so it took a little while for me to actually kind of get the wheels greased and get the business itself running. And it was a very uncomfortable process. But as time goes on, you get some experience under your belt. I got some experience under my belt, and I was able to change and make some shifts to my mindset. I was able to grow an incredibly thriving coaching practice.
Wow. Okay. I got to add on to that then, because I know now, especially with the quote of the day show, it's all personal development. And that's a lot of the stuff that can help people with the money side and the charging side. So were you a health guy first, personal development guy afterwards?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I was a personal trainer who had very tired feet that wanted to do something different, decided to start a home-based health coaching business. Did a little bit of that with metabolic typing, and then I added on FDN. And then later on, 7 years later was when my personal development career got going.
Nice. I only asked because I got very lucky. 9 years ago at 18, I basically got exposed to natural health and people like Jim Rohn, Darren Hardy, Bob Proctor, all at the same time. So it's one of the reasons that I love the show, because I was listening to these guys anyway. But you got to dig through YouTube sometimes to find the best stuff, and you just have like the greatest clips basically right there for you. So that's interesting that came in that order. That's cool. Speaking of the money thing, then, what are some of the most common limiting money beliefs that health coaches deal with? And you do this brain science thing. So can we talk about too, how the brain science of having, talk about the brain science of having what you call money conflicts?
Yeah. And these limiting money beliefs aren't exclusive to health coaches. They're very common just in general, which is why so many people are living check to check. People are behind on their retirement. For example, like rich people are greedy. You know, most of our money conditioning comes from our parents.
Hmm.
Our parents made comments during very formative years of our life, typically through birth to about age 7, and those become wired into our subconscious mind if we hear them enough, right? We give them meaning, we interpret them. So when we hear things like, oh, the neighbor's got a new car, they must have stolen some money to get it, because we know that they can't afford those kind of nice things. You know, it may have been dad's way of coping with his own lack of success, but to a young person's mind, they go, oh, this means that having money is a bad thing. This means that having nice things is a bad thing. And this creates literal physical wiring in the brain and becomes part of the underlying beliefs that we navigate through our lives with. We interpret and perceive the world through these limiting beliefs that we have, right? If we think about the creative process of being, doing, and having, these beliefs are part of our being. So for example, we may have learned that rich people are greedy, or we may have learned that rich people are unhappy, or money is difficult to hold on to. If I'm financially successful, everyone's going to judge me. Now, I'm always teaching to my students. I used to teach a course called Money Mind Academy. I haven't taught it for a couple of years now, but I'm bringing it back really soon. I'm always encouraging them to challenge their beliefs. So for example, if anybody out there believes that rich people are greedy, like, we can challenge that belief by just asking some very, very simple questions. So for example, is that always the case? Are rich people always greedy? Are all rich people greedy? And of course, the answer is what? No. It's no, right? It's a generalization. Then a question I like to ask is, exactly who? Who are these rich people who are greedy? And here's the thing, I want names. Right?
Yeah.
They go, the Kardashians. They go, Donald Trump. They go, Jeff Bezos. I go, give me some more, give me some more. And I'll see the chat in Money Mind Academy, it'll just stop, because everybody's going, wait, I've had this belief that rich people are greedy, but I can't really name anyone but 3 people who I know are greedy. That's weird. Another question is, how do you know for sure that this is true? How do you know for sure that rich people are greedy, or these 3 people who you've talked about are greedy? Like, have you had conversations with them? You know, like, what do you know about their philanthropy? What do you know about their income? What do you know about them as humans? And honestly, you really don't know anything. You're just assuming things. Now, here's the deal. Next question. Are there exceptions? Are there rich people who are not greedy? Well, of course there are, right? Next question, can you choose to be the exception? Yeah. You can be a rich person, a well-off, thriving coach who's a really amazing, generous person. And so when you go through these beliefs, like, you can when we do this in Money Mind Academy, in about 90 minutes, people get to the end of the call and they go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I believed all of this stuff for the last 30, 40, 50 years. And they look at what their lives could have been and the prosperity could have been if they didn't have these particular beliefs. One more question. If this belief were untrue, what choices would exist for me? So if it weren't true that all rich people are greedy, what choices would I have? Oh, I'd be able to use my money to be generous and open up a holistic health hospital, right? I'd have the money to be able to help people, help causes that I really care about. I'll have the money to put my kids through college, to not have to want for anything, right? So my family can have whatever it wants and not be ordering the chicken off the menu whenever we go out to dinner. I can actually order whatever it is I want. I won't have to squeeze my whole family into one hotel room when we go on vacation. Things like that can make a huge difference, not only to yourself and to your family, but to the world in general, right? And so another one that I mentioned, if I am financially successful, everyone will judge me. And this is very common in our fear of criticism as well. Well, who's everyone? Who exactly is everyone? Oh, they. Who's they? I need names, right? Okay, Susan at my work. You know, my husband's brother is going to judge me, and there might be one other person. Okay, so 3 people were everyone. So we play these games with ourselves in our head. We make up these things in our head. We make them huge. You know, if I post on social media, everybody's going to criticize me. You might get one critical post or one critical comment, and that's stopping you from helping people get healthy, right? When you think about it, you know, you take a step back and you observe it, it actually feels a little silly, you know?
Yeah, it does. Let me jump in here, Sean. It's amazing. I'm just thinking of all the great points you make in your writings and in the your podcast guests. But the one you're making right now is really critical. This idea that there's a they out there, they're greedy, they're this. It's the same thing in our community, Sean. We see a lot of people saying, well, all they ever do is treat the symptoms, talking about doctors, right? Look, doctors care about people too. They just operate in a different system than we do. People ask me all the time about conflicts and animosities and and I say, look, there isn't any. We don't do what they do, and they don't do what we do. So this idea that there's a big bad they out there, I'm like you. I go, well, which doctors? You know, like who'd you see? What'd they say? What's the story? What was the circumstances? You can't just put them all into one group and say they suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Any more than you could say rich people suck. And by the way, the 3 you mentioned probably give away more money than I make.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I always say about Jeff Bezos, number one, if you actually type in Jeff Bezos philanthropy or Jeff Bezos donations, you'll see the guy gives away a lot of money. He just doesn't publicize it. Wealthy people typically don't publicize their philanthropy. It's a bad look, number one. And number two, when they publicize their philanthropy, then everybody wants, they come with their hands out. Oh, do me too, do me too. So they just don't do it. You actually have to look for these things. I always say, hey, if you think Jeff Bezos has too much money, stop giving it to him. Like we constantly give Jeff Bezos.
The best part, yeah.
Right? We're just constantly giving. Why is that? Because the amount of money that you receive will be in direct relationship or direct correlation to the quality and the quantity of the service that you provide. Jeff Bezos can't help but be a billionaire. Why? Because he provides a service that everybody wants, needs, and is willing to pay for. And when you do that as a health coach, then you cannot help but be a rich coach instead of a broke coach. Now, I do want to get into this brain science really quickly because, you know, we have an audience who's, you know, very health-based and wants to know about the body. Let's talk about the brain and the wiring that's going on in there. There is a part of your brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC for short. This part of your brain is responsible for monitoring your actions and your decisions for conflicts and errors. So if you have a conscious or an unconscious belief that rich people are greedy or rich people are unhappy, so on and so forth, what happens is when you set a conscious goal, like I am going to build a $100,000 coaching practice or a 7-figure coaching practice, what your brain hears is, I'm going to build a 7-figure coaching practice and be unhappy, miserable, greedy, not be able to manage my money, and everyone's going to criticize me. So this is why we start and we stop and we start and we stop. Because when we set these goals, our ACC, that anterior cingulate cortex, that conflict center, the red light comes on and it sends a signal to the front part of your brain called your prefrontal cortex. That is the part of your brain that is responsible for strategizing, planning, carrying out actions, setting goals, and so forth, right? And so it is very hard when you have these conflicts and you have these limiting beliefs to continue building your practice. Your brain is constantly saying no. Your brain is saying, wait, why are you building a 7-figure practice when you don't even like money? Why are you building a 7-figure practice when you don't even like people who have money? Like, what are you doing? And you will continually cyclically start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. You're like, what's wrong with me? Then you start blaming Reed Davis. You're like, Reed, it's your fault. And Reed's like, it's not my fault. You know, I'm giving you all of the tools. This is on you to go out there and do it. But it's hard to do if you haven't changed your being, if you haven't modified and challenged these beliefs.
Wow.
I always thought it was my fault, actually.
It's not your fault.
Not always, not always.
I was getting the blame for something. But
Sean,
yeah,
it just,
go ahead.
oh, you got to
Yeah.
read. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting to hear you say this because, again, I got into personal development and health at the same time. So it's a huge part of my life. And I had an awesome situation. You'll get this because I have a best friend and he's been in the normal work world for the last 9 years since kind of, we graduated high school and stuff. And recently last year, he quit everything. Like he's escaping the matrix, right? He's like, I'm done with this. I want to go do something else. And so of course he goes to personal development, Ev, and we're meeting up all the time and talking about things. And because we don't talk about the money stuff normally. We're just friends, we hang out and we separate that and that's fine. But then we were having discussions recently, and this is one of the smartest people I have ever met, literally a genius kid. And he's telling me all these things that he thinks about money, right? Like he's saying it. That's the best part. The people will say their beliefs. His dad works 70, 80 hours a week. His dad was mean to all of them. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to have my laptop on vacation when we're supposed to all be hanging out. And so there's these associations that people get with this stuff. And what I always find this one very funny. And it's kind of like you said, you just have to think about it and realize how ridiculous it sounds. One of the things I always say to even myself, if I find myself getting caught in these traps, right? Because every level, there's another devil. So you kind of have to continuously do some of this stuff, I found personally. And one of the things I realized, especially when it comes to money, is, okay, if I'm having a fear or whatever it is of making more, I think that's not right, or a hesitation. I'm already living in a $2,000 a month apartment, more than that, honestly. It's almost $3,000. I got a car payment that I could have gotten a less car with. I could have done so many things that would downgrade my life. So why don't I just go do that? Oh, because I'm not going to do that because I want the nice things. I'm just trying to stay with the Joneses and not go above it. So if you're not going to go so extreme that you give everything up, become Mother Teresa or a monk, then the only other side is, in my opinion, to actually build as much as you can so that you can do as much good as you can. I asked my friend, I said, who's more virtuous? The person that gives away 50% of their income if they make $50,000 a year for their whole life, or the person who makes $1 million a year but gives away 10% of their income for their entire life? Well, of course, it's the second option. They did way more good with that. But again, we don't say these things to ourselves. We have our beliefs. All of our friends and family validate them. And if they don't validate them, we stop hanging out with those people because they make us uncomfortable. Yeah. And it's, rich people suck. And then we move on to the next football game or whatever it is, right?
I never thought rich people sucked because the ones in my neighborhood, those were the parents that spent more time with their kids. They would take us places. They were managing baseball and football teams. It was the more successful people that had more fun, family time, like you say, and their kids always were dressed nice or whatever way you want to look at it. And I'm not sure if that's the anterior cingulate cortex, that was in charge of my perceptions. But Sean has always been a proponent of point of view, controlling or maintaining or checking your point of view. The way you get up in the morning and start it could set the tone for the whole day. Sure, stuff's going to happen, but if you start off right, point of view, it's a good world. Like turn the TV off if you don't like what it's saying. Especially if it causes arguments between you and your spouse. No more of that TV.
Yeah. And being greedy and unhappy and miserable, these things are not exclusive to rich people. I know a lot of unhappy, miserable, greedy, poor people. I actually know more of them than I know rich people who are that way, to be fully honest. And Evan, you mentioned like family and friends and who you surround yourself with. Belonging is a big deal. A lot of people out there, when they surround themselves with people who have these same limiting beliefs, to think otherwise is sort of like a threat of being kicked out of your tribe, right? My friends are no longer going to accept me because I really don't mind this money thing. And a lot of people will just gravitate right back to those beliefs, even though they think otherwise, just so they can continue to belong. and get that sense of love. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, that third rung there is connection, love, belonging. And above that is self-esteem and self-actualization. A lot of us get stuck right there in rung number 3 and never get beyond that. And I think that holds a lot of people back.
Right. I got another.
Let me ask you a question. What would be a good way or one way of handling someone? Because we get people who on their packaging and pricing, now this is getting pretty much into the nitty gritty. And they're like, well, I'm going to start off just charging $1,000 when they know it should be 3 or 4 or 5, and they know it's worth 4, but they go, well, I'm going to start off like this, and then I'll see if anyone likes me.
Yeah, you know
they
what?
don't get the results because they don't put enough time into it. They're ones looking for the next $1,000 client, you know, instead of just, hey.
I think, you know, back in the day, I used to say, charge the $3,000, charge the $5,000. People are going to be more willing to work with you if you charge more. I think, and I'm still working on this, I'm working this out in my mind. As I've read more about economics, I actually am starting to agree with charging a lower fee when you just get started. When you don't have the skills, right? When your skills aren't solid, when you're just starting to get experience in coaching, I think it's okay to charge a lower rate. At least I think I do. Again, I'm still working this out. Because number one, you don't have any testimonials. Number two, when you just get started, you're really not that good. You know, if somebody gets hired to, you know, flip the burgers at McDonald's, that is a low-skilled individual who's just starting to work at McDonald's, right? They're just getting their foot in the door. It would be inappropriate to pay that person $100 an hour, right? Or to give that person a salary plus bonuses. You're kind of skipping steps. So I think that as a coach, at least I think, I'm just thinking out loud right now, that it's okay to charge less if you are willing to get a lesser quality client. And when you can work with these lesser quality clients and get good results with them, then you get confidence, then you get testimonials, then you have the money to build yourself a website, then you have the money to get yourself some help, and you can slowly start to grow your business. But I think, as I reflect on the past, telling a brand new coach to charge $5,000 freaks them out. And they don't feel like their skills are on par with the price that we're telling them to charge. I think it's skipping a step. And it really just comes down, it really comes down to the comfort of the coach. But personally, as I look back, because sometimes I make fun of myself for charging $595 for 12 sessions, which was crazy. It should have been at the very least $1,000 back then. I give myself a hard time about that, but I got my feet in the game and I was charging minimum wage. And I think that's where some people might want to start.
Hey, it's funny because you just made me recall the first test kit that I ever handed out to someone and charged them to, you go home and put your saliva in this tubes in this box. And when I get the test results back in my office, it's $50. I would charge them $50 to interpret my first lab test.
Yeah.
You know, 25 years ago. Yeah, $50. And man, I started selling them like hotcakes at $50.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's like, yeah, it's
right.
crazy.
So the brand new coach is more likely to sign up more clients if they charge a lower rate. And honestly, it's a pain in the ass working again with some of those people, but you're working. You know what I mean? You're working. You set the bar a little bit lower, you get clients, but you're working and you're making your money back, what you paid for FDN. You're starting to get a return on that investment and you start to get some confidence. Like, I'm working. I think the person who's brand new, who's charging $5,000 is on the phone shaking on a discovery call. Like, oh my God, I'm about to tell this person I have no experience. I'm about to charge them $5,000. And I don't know if that's going to work. Yeah. Anyway, this is just me thinking out loud, something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Well, and this kind of connects to this perfectly, because the next question was, you say that there are 3 fears that, if not confronted, will guarantee that someone will become a broke coach. So I figure this kind of actually ties in perfectly. What are those 3 things?
And these aren't exclusive, again, to health coaches, but the big one is the fear of rejection. Nobody likes to be rejected. But here's the thing, you're gonna be. It's just part of the game. Like, you are in business for yourself. You're going to be on the phone trying to close clients. Like, health coaches, they don't like to think that they're in sales. They don't like to think that they're in marketing. Like, they just think, oh, I have a hobby and I was able to heal myself and I'm going to heal other people and da 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 da. It's like, no, this is a business, and you're going to have to blow through a lot of no's in order to get to your yeses. And I love what Dr. Demartini says. He says, depression is when your reality doesn't match your illusion. And sometimes we have this illusion that everybody's going to say yes. They are not. If you're doing discovery calls and you're closing like 30% of them, you're doing really well, right? Yeah. That means 7 out of 10 people are saying no. And if you can't deal with that, you're going to have a very hard time in your coaching career. And let me just give you another way of looking at these no's and all these discovery calls that you're going to have to do. Discovery calls are a great way to get the information that you need. Number one, to create an offer that they want, because people are going to be saying the same things to you over and over and over again. And you start listening and writing down what they're saying, you're going to start to see different patterns. Oh, these are the 3 big things that everybody I talk to wants. Okay, so when you write your website copy, right there at the very top, you put those 3 things: lose weight, get rid of your brain fog, heal your digestion. I'm just throwing stuff out, because everybody says those things. That way, when somebody lands on your website, they go, oh my God, yeah, this is for me. This is exactly what I need. They're telling you what they need. So you don't want to look at these 7 out of 10 calls that people say no. You don't want to look at them as a total lost cause. It's information. It's allowing you to construct copy. It's allowing you to create offers for them that are specific to exactly what they want. And number 2, and we might get into this later, you have to realize that the more value you bring to people by way of social media and your newsletter, the less you have to sell, right? So if I were to write a newsletter like right now, like as soon as we're done, and say, hey guys, I decided to open up 5 spots for one-on-one life coaching. Who's down? My inbox will light up. And there will be some people who don't even want to talk to me. They'll be like, send me a link, right? Because I've delivered so much value to them. I've built a knowing, liking, and trusting with them, right? Because I'm out there in the field actually helping them on a daily basis. What I see a lot of coaches do, I'm getting a little bit off topic, but it's all right. What I see a lot of coaches do is do all this bullshit behind the scenes. Oh, I'm working on my course. Oh, I'm putting together my package. Like, doing all this behind the scenes stuff where it's like, who are you helping today? Right? Did you help anybody? Did anybody like open up their Instagram and go, oh yeah, that was really helpful to me, I'm going to follow you? No, because I'm putting together my content calendar schedule and I've been doing it for the last 90 days. It's like, yo, yeah. You are scared. You're just scared. Let's just keep it real. You're scared. How can I help you take these ideas and apply them and put them into action so you can go out there and serve the people who need you? Because right now, you're caught up in your own stuff. Right now, you're caring more about yourself than you actually care about the people that you claim to want to serve. You're making it all about yourself. If you want value in the form of money, you got to bring value in the form of content and help and service to them. And it's an exchange. But if you don't want to participate in the giving part and you just want to participate in the receiving part, your business is fucked. To be honest, pardon my French, I'm sorry.
That's
yeah,
right,
I mean,
Sean,
it's just,
Sean's right. You have to deliver. And every single, was it every week? Do I get my newsletter from you, Sean, with the blog?
Yeah, yeah, once or twice a week. This week, my mom
it
was
seems
in
like
town,
twice
so
a week.
yeah,
A lot of time. Not twice every. So you're just delivering.
And
And
it's
that's
not just that. It's the podcast is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. About 4 or 5 days a week, there's a reel on Instagram. Like I'm in multiple places where just about every day somebody can say, I received something of value from Sean Croxton today. And if somebody can't say that about you, if you're the person who's like, oh, I'm going to do a newsletter once a month, go get a job. right?
Forget
If
about
that's your if that's your commitment level to the people you want to serve, then you're not really in it to win it. You know, I was just telling somebody, one of my neighbors, he's got an online coaching business, and I think this may have come from Reed Davis. When I used to do consultations with prospective clients, I would ask them what their commitment level was. And if they were less than a 9, I'm like, no, I can't work with you. I'm good. And they could be like, oh, no, I'm a 9. Like, no, you're going to be a pain in my ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so if your commitment level is not very high, I can tell when you tell me that you want to do a monthly newsletter, right? Or every 2 weeks put up an Instagram reel or whatever it is, like you're not serious. You're not serious. And so that was fear of rejection, but I'm going to move on. The next one is the fear of criticism. You're going to be criticized. You are going to be wrong about things. You ever heard of Freud? You ever heard of Einstein? Right? These folks were wrong about a lot of things. And these are notable figures in the history of humans. And so you have to know that you're not always going to be right. And sometimes you're going to post content and someone's going to be like, nah, dude, that's not even true. And I will point to it and tell you where you're not true, where you're not correct. And that's just part of the game. That's just part of learning, you know, that's part of being human and relatable. And that's okay. If you can't deal with criticism, it's going to be hard for you to be successful in the online space as a coach. And I'll be honest with you, criticism took me out back in like 2011, 2012, where I was just so tired of the criticism that I took down my YouTube channel, got rid of my Twitter, got rid of my Facebook. Like I was just done. But after that happened, I was like, number one, someone said to me like, yo, if you're making a difference in the world, people are going to criticize you. It's when you're not making a difference that nobody really cares to say anything. And also, I just couldn't live with myself being like, oh my God, they won.
Yeah.
And also a lot of this criticism comes from anonymous people. It can be a 12-year-old, you know, sitting in his pajamas, scrolling through Instagram, who just feels like saying to me, you just never know. I've had people write me mean emails. I drank a Celsius earlier. I'm like, I've had people send me like mean emails and I'll be like, damn, this person's really going through something today. And a couple of days later, they'll be like, I'm sorry, I was going through something that day. And that's just human nature. So if you can't deal with criticism, it's going to be hard. And you also have to know that this is a process of the thickening of your skin. Over time, your skin will get thicker. When somebody criticizes me, it just rolls right off. I just kind of just keep moving. Whereas back in the day when I first started, it would have crushed my entire week. And so it's just part of the game. We have to accept it. Another one that I think is really big for health coaches is the fear of loss of health, where if I work really hard to build my business, then I'm going to get sick again. And I see this a lot. And what happens is the coach will start and they'll be on a good roll. And then they'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to make myself sick. And then they stop and they disappear. And then they recharge and they start again. Like, oh my God, I'm going to get sick. And it just becomes the starting and stopping again. Normally, when people got sick in the past, they got sick when they were doing something that they absolutely hated. They were working a job that was stressing them out. They were working for somebody else. They weren't making enough money. They were working too many hours on and on and on. You as a coach now, I'm going to assume you are doing what you're really passionate about. If you're doing something that you're really passionate about, it should fire you up. It should raise your vibration. It should make you feel good. Now, this doesn't mean you need to like hustle every day and, you know, work 60 hours a week. It means that you should monitor your health. But I think it's that fear, that attention that coaches give to like, what if I get sick, that eventually makes them sick, you know? And so just move at your own pace, see how it feels and say, hey, can I kick this up a little? But I guarantee if you're the start and stop person, because you feel like every time you have a cough, you're about to like go off the rails, it's going to be really hard for you to build your business. And just one more thing with these fears, a lot of us never take action because we hope that there's going to be this one magical day where we wake up and all these fears are gone. The fears are going to be gone on Monday. Then I'm really going to start. It's not going to happen. These are fears that you need to confront. These are fears. I got a fear of criticism and rejection. All right, I'm gonna do as many sales calls as I can. And I'm gonna hear no so many times that it no longer affects me. I'm gonna post content, controversial content that makes people feel something. I'm gonna say something different, and I'm just gonna deal with the criticism until I no longer feel it anymore, and I can just I'm bulletproof. But these are the things that we have to walk up to the fear. We have to stare the fear in the face. And that's the only way that it's really going to go away. We can EMDR and tap and meditate and do all that stuff. And that's cool. But I think people get really caught up on that. Like, I did EMDR, and then 6 weeks ago I did tapping, and now I'm going to do this. And it's like, yo, when are you going to start your business though? You know what I'm saying? Like, when are you going to start your business? You're so busy fucking tapping all the time. Like, when are you going to go and just like face your fears? I don't get it. So, you know, you got to go out there and you got to do something beyond tapping. I'm sorry for making fun of anybody. I'm just,
everyone here has got a good sense of humor. It's awesome.
These are just the things that I've seen and heard in this space, and that kind of frustrate me. Yeah.
Hey, tapping is not a bad thing. Sean, you raised some really good things. People have been asking how to get a hold of you. At Sean Croxton is the Instagram. And of course, there's also quote of the day there. And, you know, people are chiming in a bunch of stuff. The funniest one I saw was, hey, TV might have worked in 2008, but I'm going to have to sell a car to get in there now.
Someone said they're actually thinking about it. It's awesome.
I bought low. I invested low. That's all.
Yeah. Sean got in at the right time, man. Hey, you know what? Well, just think about it. What if I had tried to charge some exorbitant amount of money for FDN back in the day? It was my first class I ever taught, Sean. Sean was there. I rented a penthouse at this old hotel in San Diego. We had people fly in from England, Canada, and around the United States. Sean was a local fellow that I talked to on the phone a couple times, and we shared a client already. By the way, Francesca did also a parasite test. She had a number of things going on that we helped her with. I never pick on one thing, but the idea is that Sean's a hard worker. Sean's a guy who's done the homework. You can't just expect that all of a sudden you're going to be at, oh yeah, I'm going to take on 3 clients a month at $5,000 a piece. And, you know, that's 15 grand a month times 12. That's over 100 grand a year. You're going to work real hard on the first few and learn and take a few licks and come back, because that's what separates the successful people from the not.
Yeah. I love that example. Like, you didn't start FDN at 5 figures. You know, you started, just keep it real with that. It's like $895.
It was about $800 if you buy it today. It's $800. Yeah, but that was for a 2-day workshop. Now, of course, it's a very robust course that we put together. But no, I just went out there and taught. And by the way, that was good money, man. I still got some of that money in the bank, you know.
I'm sure you do. But yeah, Reed started low. He was brand new. He was fresh. He had done a lot of this on his own, but he had never taught anybody this. He had never had a workshop. He was just getting his feet wet. He's like, yo, I want to fill up this room. Just like you guys, if you're just getting started, yo, I just want to fill up my schedule. Let's just get people in here. And as I get better and it becomes more popular and more in demand, then I'm going to raise the price. Like, let the market decide what you're going to get paid.
Sean, so I want to ask you what some of your best advice is for health coaches, because I know that people don't realize this if they don't know you. You're incredibly well read, if it's not obvious. How much are you reading right now? Because I follow on Instagram, but I forget what you're currently doing. I just know that you had a stack of books, a mountain high recently for the year.
Yeah, I read about 80 books a year, something like that. I usually read 3 hours a day, sometimes more. I have a lot of free time.
Well, the reason that I mention this, though, is because we always come back to these issues sometimes with health coaches, right? Where they're really big on learning the health stuff, but the personal development side's a little different. And I know you read more than just personal development material, but it's a part of it, obviously. Right. And I did a whole podcast on this where we had Ben Azadi. I know you know him. And I'm talking about his journey with personal development and all the things he does. And it almost seems like there's a predictable formula here. If you start engaging in that stuff, this stuff gets better. So I'm curious, as someone who is as well read as you are, been through this, done it yourself, went through the limiting beliefs. I greatly appreciate your transparency today with the charging and the fears and even the criticisms or the issues with criticism that you had, because I wouldn't know that nowadays. And I don't think most people would, judging by how good this has been so far. So what's your best advice, like 30-second, 1 minute advice to health coaches out there that are maybe like novices or just getting started?
Before I give you this advice,
Sure.
I want to talk about Ben Azadi. Ben Azadi has a burning desire. If you talk to Ben, like I didn't even know Ben, and Ben was sending me messages like, I got to talk to you. I want you to coach me. And I would ignore him because I wasn't doing any coaching. And he would reach out again. Hey, Sean, man, I loved Underground Wellness. I really want you. And I'm like, nah, dude. And then he hit me up one more time. I was like, dude, I'm not coaching you. You're weirding me out with all these messages that you're sending me. Like stop. And he would like unfollow me and follow me. And it turns out that there was somebody working for him who was doing this unfollowing and following thing. I just thought it was weird. So we eventually get on the phone on a Zoom call, and minute number one, I was like, this guy's got this stuff. He was so clear on what he wanted. He's like, I'm going to help 1 million people, XYZ. And I was like, I have no doubt that he is, you know? And I helped him just to establish the foundation of that business. Like Keto Camp was my idea, right? Using that whole 4 flex, whatever he says, like I want him to make that prominent in his business. And it's really cool to see him do it. And it's also cool that there was never a doubt in my mind that he was going to do what he has done. Because that man had a burning and has a burning desire, no doubt about it. So ask yourself, do you have that same kind of Ben Azadi Keto Camp burning desire? Show up for your people every single day, damn near, on Instagram. Show up once a week on a podcast, always interviewing different experts. Like that is a guy who is going above and beyond. If you want to know what it takes, go follow Ben Azadi. Model that. Getting to my advice.
I love it.
Coaches are like, Sean, give me your best 30-second advice for a health coach. And I go, you have bookshelves at home. I take it. And they go, yeah. I go, what percentage of your books are health books? They go, about 99%. I go, what percentage of your shelves, your books, are about marketing, sales, business, branding? They say 2. I go, you're going to be a broke coach, period. Because if you are not spending your time learning about the marketing, learning about the sales, right? Learning about copywriting, you just have a hobby that you're just like hoping is going to work. Like Ben Azadi, he knows marketing. Ben Azadi, he knows sales. Ben Azadi knows how to write some copy, or he knows how to hire somebody to write some copy for him, and he knows good copy from bad copy. But if you never studied it, if you don't know anything about that, if you haven't put in the time to learn that stuff, it's going to be really hard for you to get your message out. You know, nobody builds really a strong health coaching business by accident. There's strategy that goes in there. If you're just relying upon your health smarts alone, you're going to be bitter, because what you're going to see is that you are really smart when it comes to health and wellness. You know the studies, you got all the evidence, you have everything you need. Somebody who knows 20% of what you know is making 7 figures online.
Yep.
Somebody's got a thriving business and they know 20% of what you know. And one of those people was me back in the day. Like people will say, oh, you don't know shit. I go, you're broke. You don't have any clients though, right? So you don't want to be a bitter coach because your library is 99% health and you're not putting in the time to actually learn about sales and marketing and business.
It's kind of hilarious because I mean, listen, there's levels to this and I still have plenty to go, but it's very nice to get to learn from people like you on your podcast and the things you share. Learn from Ben, right? I actually get to learn quite a bit from Ben because at this point, that's what's fun. I mean, there's 3 business books right on the desk right now, right? There's more business stuff in my bookshelf than there is health stuff. because you got to learn how to actually go show people what you know and how to run this stuff or know how to run this stuff. And what's interesting, and I won't mention names because I don't want to act like I'm attacking their health knowledge. I'm not. But what's fascinating is how many FDNs, they don't have all the advanced courses, they don't have 20 certifications, and yet they make more money than all the other FDNs who do have 20 certifications because they've worked on that other side as well. So I love the bookshelf test. What a great way to think about it, because it's objective, right? It's a percentage type of thing. You can look right immediately now and see kind of, where you stand with all that. And on that topic, do you kind of think some coaches are more maybe predisposed to being rich coaches or broke coaches? I know that we can overcome just about anything, but are some more predisposed one way or the other?
Absolutely. We get a lot of our programming and conditioning and our wiring from our parents. I've done quite a bit of studying the common traits and early life experiences of highly successful entrepreneurs. And when I look at my life, in my upbringing, it's very similar to some of theirs. My father was an entrepreneur. He worked at Macy's selling shoes Monday through Friday. Over the weekends, he sold very random stuff at the swap meet in Oakland. And I would go out with him. I would see him sell. I'm like 7 years old. I was watching this. I would see the big fat wad of money in his back pocket. And I would just see him out there dealing. I saw the inventory room. We would pack up the van, we would unload the van, we would repack the van, and we did this on the weekends. And so I had that exposure to an entrepreneurial mentality. I had exposure to risk-taking propensity in learning how to live in uncertainty and being responsible for my own prosperity. A lot of people didn't get that growing up. So for them, they might not have that same wiring that I have. And if you look at Marie Forleo, you look at Grant Cardone, you look at Jim Quick, Brendan Burchard, some of the people that we know in the personal development business, their experience are very similar. Their early life experiences. They were raised in a way where their parents taught them to have very high self-esteem. They were doted on by their parents. And so whereas something may happen and it kind of rocks our self-worth, those individuals, as well as myself, are like, I'm still worthy. You can't put a dent in this. And so there are coaches out there who are kind of predisposed to becoming rich coaches, but that doesn't mean if you weren't exposed to some of these things that you can't be. What it means is that you have to be very intentional about confronting those fears and challenging your limiting beliefs and silencing your self-talk and surrounding yourself with people who really support you. And I think that's probably the biggest thing here. If you surround yourself with people who are like, I can't believe you spent 5 figures on that FDN course, right? Or people who are like, you're never going to be able to build a coaching practice from home, you might not want to hang out with those people very much or at all.
I agree. You got to get away from the naysayers, no matter what business you're in. And similarly, I think the success thing, Sean, you're onto something. When I was 12, I was a Boy Scout, and they had we had to sell Christmas cards. And I went to my dad and I said, hey, can you sell these at work? You got all those guys at work, and can you get them to buy some Christmas cards? And he says, yeah, I could. He goes, but go put your Boy Scout uniform on. We're going out. And that night he took me out with my Boy Scout uniform on and my little order form. And we went to a neighborhood that wasn't ours, went in a different neighborhood to go knock on the door, tell them you're with the Boy Scouts and you'd like to offer them some Christmas card. I went up to the first door, came back. They said no, and he goes, all right, go to the next house. They said no too. Go to the third house. Scored, sold 2 boxes of Christmas cards, right? Yeah. Now I'm starting to dig it a bit. Anyway, 12 years old, I won the Boy Scout pocket knife at the annual Christmas celebration. As award. I was surprised to hear my name. And the winner of the Christmas card sales contest goes to Reed Davis. Man, that changed my whole life, knocking on doors and just doing stuff other people won't do.
As I think as you were talking about that, I did the same thing, right? My parents had us out there selling candy bars in front of Pizza Hut. With the Boys and Girls Club, we used to sell coupon books door to door. and they would drop me off in the neighborhood. This is like 1983 or something like that. They would drop us off in the neighborhood, and we would have a block, and we'd be literally all by ourselves knocking on doors. Would you like to buy a coupon book? Da, da, da. People would be like, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes. And if and when I have kids, they're doing the same thing. I want my kids to be the Greenpeace kids, right? The ones who are at the mall and everybody's like trying not to make eye contact with, you know, like, get away from me, because I want them to know what it's like to be rejected. And I want them to go into their teenage years and their adult years, like, it's okay to be rejected. That's part of life.
Yeah. Sean, I know I wanted to be respectful to your time today because you have a tough stop in 4 minutes, correct?
I'm getting LASIK today in 30 minutes.
Nice. Oh, nice.
My.
Yeah, getting my eyes fixed.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you very much.
You'll love it. Yeah.
We got to wrap this up. So we have a bunch of questions that came to you. I don't want to just rapid fire this stuff because I want to be, again, considerate to your time. I think a better place would be go follow his podcast, go learn from his stuff. So Sean, where can they find you? We've dropped a bunch of links throughout the time that you were talking, but maybe there's some stuff that we're missing.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Sean Croxton. That's the best place to find me. If you want to be on my email list, just send me a DM with your, you know, your first name and your email address, and I'll add you to the list, because you can't do that on my website right now. And that's it. Joanne, Sean, when you were establishing your business, did you outsource tasks? And if so, which ones? Not really. Not when I was first starting my business. I got an assistant maybe about a year into it, Allison. I cannot remember exactly what I had her doing, though.
I remember Allison. And no, Sean's a do-it-yourselfer. He will grind it out. He will read the books. He will, you know, just get the work done. He'll sit there at his desk and things like that and grind it out. And so sometimes in business, you grind. Literally, like you grind. That's if you want to be successful. If you want everything handed to you, plan on being a poor coach.
Yeah. And I'm not afraid. I think one thing about me that's different than everybody else, or most people, I should say, is when I want to learn something, I will immerse myself in it. If I want to learn copywriting, I will go to Amazon, I'll buy 7 books about copywriting, and I will sit here and I will read every single one of them until I feel like I got a pretty good handle on this. Let's go do this. Most people aren't willing to get through the first chapter of the first book. You have to turn off the TV. You have to stop scrolling. You got to stop bullshitting. You got to start using your time really well. We all have the same amount of time. And I don't care how many kids you have. My friend Wellness Mama has like 5 kids, and she's been crushing it for a long time. She had like 5 kids under the age of 8. And so you can find time. It just really depends on, do you have that burning desire or do you not? Do you want to make excuses or do you not? Are you willing to get out of yourself and be about them or not? That's what it's about.
It's amazing, Sean, because you're right. They won't read the book, but they'll buy it off Amazon, get it delivered next day, and then bitch about Jeff Bezos. So it's kind of funny how that all works, right? This is probably a fun question for you. I don't know if it's okay, but we got a minute left. What is the highest amount you charged for coaching?
I want to say I've charged like $5,000 for a coaching package. Might have included 10 sessions. I can't remember. Honestly, I don't really do much coaching. It's been a while.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, then I have one question selfishly just for you, and I think it's great for everyone. As someone who has read as much as you have, you studied, like you said, you just kind of grind it out when you need to. What is the best book on business that Sean Croxton has ever read?
That's hard to say, but I will say this, and I pulled it out because I knew I wanted to show you guys.
Nice.
This book right here, Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller, everybody needs to read. Because, one thing y'all coaches do, you got way too much copy on your website. I don't know what it is that you do. You're like, I'm going to give you optimal wellness. I don't know what that is. You want somebody to land on your website and be clear as to what you do in like 2 to 3 seconds. Because if they can't identify that, if there's too many words on your site, if you're just going on and on and on about your story and everything, and you've got 4,000 words on your homepage, they are never going to come back. And what Marketing Made Simple will help you is to keep things very concise, to the point, so somebody can understand very clearly what you do in those 3 to 5 seconds.
Awesome. Guys, it's at Sean Croxton on Instagram. Please go give this guy a follow. That's the very least we can do after throwing this down today. That was amazing.